Judge Armstrong's gavel struck the block. "Motion granted." My stomach plummeted. "The court will allow Mr. Williams additional time to review the medical records." I gripped the polished oak table, my knuckles turning white. This was the fifth delay, the fifth time in 8 months that my father, Leland Williams, had managed to stall the proceedings for my mother's estate. Across the courtroom, Leland leaned toward his attorney, Marcus Davenport. Davenport, a senior partner at Williams, Patton and Davenport, whispered something that made both men smirk. The sight of it sent a hot pulse hammering in my ears. The courtroom air conditioning was aggressive, but sweat beaded on my hairline anyway. A familiar tightness, like a steel band, constricted my chest. Each breath was a shallow, useless effort. "Your Honor," Leland said, rising with a mask of practiced concern, "we simply request this time to review Mrs. Franklin's records. We've found inconsistencies regarding her treatment decisions that may impact the asset distribution." Assets. That's all my mother, Evelyn Franklin, was to him. A modest townhouse in Trenton, $85,000 in savings she'd scraped together, and an antique armoire passed down through her family. That armoire was all that remained of her. She'd reclaimed her maiden name, Franklin, right after the divorce 14 years ago. A small victory in a war he'd forced her into. Now I was fighting the same man. "This is the fifth such request, Your Honor," my attorney, Chloe Ramsey, interjected. Chloe was an old friend from law school, sharp and loyal. "Ms. Williams has provided complete medical records, twice." Judge Armstrong just nodded, his expression bored. He was already shuffling papers for the next case. The outcome had been decided before we even walked in. He'd already taken everything in the divorce. Why was he doing this? Why couldn't he let her rest? If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. That was a blatant violation of probate procedure, Bianca. Chloe's voice echoed slightly in the marble hallway of the courthouse. I leaned against the wall, trying to get my breathing under control. The tightness in my chest wouldn't ease. "He didn't even look at you, Chloe. He just rubber stamped it." "I know." She adjusted the strap of her briefcase. "Davenport files the motion. Armstrong grants it. It's too smooth. It's sloppy. They aren't even trying to hide the bias." "It's what he does," I muttered. "He manipulates. He wears you down until you have nothing left to fight with. That's how he won the divorce." "This isn't the divorce." Chloe's gaze was firm. "The law is on our side. Her will is ironclad. He's just delaying, trying to bleed you dry on legal fees." I nodded, but we both knew the truth. As a public defender in Savannah, my salary barely covered my student loans. Leland knew that. He was counting on it. "Don't let him see he's getting to you," Chloe said, softening her tone. "That's what he wants. Go home. I'll start drafting a motion to compel. We fight back." I just wanted it to be over. I wanted to grieve my mother without my father's shadow looming over me. I was unlocking my apartment door when my phone vibrated, buzzing angrily in my pocket. I almost declined it, an unknown number with a Vermont area code, but something made me answer. "Is this Bianca Williams?" a woman's voice asked. It was unfamiliar, crisp, and authoritative. "Yes. Who is this?" "My name is Rebecca Ballard. I knew your mother, Evelyn." I paused, my key halfway into the lock. "You knew my mom?" "A long time ago, before she met your father." "I've been following the probate case through some old contacts." I glanced around the empty hallway, a strange chill running down my spine. "Contacts? I don't understand." "Your mother was a very private person, Bianca, for good reason. The things your father is doing in court, it's not just about the money, it's about what he's afraid she left behind." My breath hitched. "What are you talking about?" "Not over the phone," Rebecca said sharply. "Can you meet me? Tomorrow. Somewhere public, but quiet." "How do I know I can trust you?" "You don't," the woman replied bluntly. "But you're losing, and you don't know why. I do. I can tell you why Judge Armstrong is in your father's pocket." That hit me like a physical blow. "Where?" The coffee shop on Drayton and an abbreviation. Noon, come alone. The line clicked dead before I could ask another question. The next day, I walked into the noisy diner, my nerves stretched thin. I spotted her immediately. A woman in her late 50s with sharp features and intelligent eyes that seemed to miss nothing. She was sitting in a corner booth, a black coffee untouched in front of her. She looked up as I approached, her gaze assessing me. "Ms. Williams, thank you for coming. I'm Rebecca Ballard." Her handshake was firm, all business. I slid into the vinyl booth. "You said you knew my mother." "I did. We served together." I frowned. Mom was a clerk in the Air Force. Office work. That's what she always told me. Rebecca gave a short, dry laugh. "That was her cover story. A story your father was more than happy to perpetuate after the divorce. Your mother wasn't a clerk, Bianca. She was one of the best signals intelligence analysts the USAF had." My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. "What?" "Evelyn was brilliant. She saw patterns no one else could. Encryption, data analysis. She was a genius." "Why would she lie to me?" "National security at first. The oaths we took were serious. Later—" Rebecca's expression darkened. "Later, she kept quiet for other reasons. To protect you." "Protect me from what?" I asked. Rebecca leaned forward, lowering her voice. "Your mother and I were assigned to a joint task force in the late 80s, a signals project called Operation Bayside Horizon." She paused, letting the name settle. "It was a domestic surveillance program, highly classified. Your father was a young JAG officer assigned as legal oversight, and so was his friend, a young captain named Armstrong." My blood ran cold. "Judge Armstrong?" "The very same," Rebecca confirmed. "They were supposed to be the legal guardrails. Instead, they saw an opportunity. They started using the program's access for their own gain. Illegal surveillance, blackmail, leverage." My stomach twisted. "My father wouldn't—" "Wouldn't he?" Rebecca's eyes were piercing. "He was ambitious. Armstrong was, too. They used the intelligence they gathered to build their careers, trading favors, burying problems." She sipped her coffee. "They gathered leverage on a Senator Garrison, used his private indiscretions to influence his vote on a defense budget. That little move made your father's career. It got Armstrong his first political appointment." "This is insane," I whispered, my mind reeling. "It gets worse," Rebecca said, her voice flat. "There was an activist, a journalist named Jeremy Wallace. He was digging into defense contract overruns. He got too close to Bayside Horizon. He threatened to go public." "What happened to him?" "A car accident. Brake failure on a rainy night. It was ruled an accident, of course, but Evelyn saw the logs. She knew they had been targeting him. She knew it wasn't an accident." I couldn't breathe. And my mother, she knew this? She knew all of it, and they knew she knew. When she tried to divorce your father, he used it against her. He threatened to paint her as an unstable, disgruntled spy. He threatened her security clearance, but most of all, he threatened you. Rebecca's gaze softened. He blackmailed her into silence, Bianca. Her silence in exchange for your safety. She walked away with nothing, just so you could have a normal life, far away from him. "So why is he doing this now?" I asked, my voice shaking. "She's gone." "Because he's not after the money. He's after the proof. Evelyn was meticulous. She kept records of everything. He's terrified of what she might have left you. He's using the court to legally seize her belongings so he can destroy the evidence." "What evidence?" "I don't know for sure," Rebecca said, "but she loved that antique armoire, the one from her grandmother. If Evelyn kept a secret, she'd keep it there." I called Chloe from the car, my hands shaking so badly I could barely dial. "Meet me at my mom's house in Trenton. Now. I know why he's doing this." An hour later, Chloe and I stood in the quiet living room of my mother's townhouse, staring at the imposing oak armoire. It was beautiful. Dark wood carved with intricate details. Rebecca said he's after proof, I told Chloe, repeating the whole story. Chloe's eyes were wide. Blackmail, illegal surveillance. Bianca, if this is true, this is massive. We need to find it. We spent the next hour tearing the armoire apart. We emptied the drawers, checked the linings, tapped on the back panels looking for a hollow sound. Nothing. Maybe Rebecca was wrong, Chloe said, sitting back on her heels. I ran my hands over the ornate carvings on the base, frustration building. No, she was too specific. He's terrified of this. It has to be here. My fingers traced a deep groove in the baseboard trim. It looked like a solid piece of wood. But as I pushed, my nail caught on a tiny, almost invisible seam. Chloe, look! I pressed hard on a carved wooden rosette. There was a soft, mechanical click. A narrow section of the baseboard popped open, revealing a shallow, hidden compartment. Hey? My heart hammered against my ribs. Chloe let out a sharp breath. No way. Inside the velvet-lined compartment sat a small leather-bound journal and a thick manila envelope. I pulled them out, my hands trembling. I opened the envelope first. Photos spilled onto the carpet. 2 young men in Air Force dress uniforms, grinning, arms slung over each other's shoulders. I recognized my father, Leland, instantly. The man beside him, younger but with the same arrogant tilt to his head, was Judge Armstrong. Other photos showed them standing near banks of electronic equipment I didn't recognize. I opened the journal. My mother's neat, precise handwriting filled the pages. It wasn't a diary. It was a log. June 12th. LW and AA. Use the Bayside system to monitor Senator Garrison's daughter. They are using her to pressure him on the defense bill. This is a complete violation of operational parameters. August 4th. Jeremy Wallace threatened to expose the Garrison intercept. He contacted a reporter. August 6th. JW is dead. Car accident. They're calling it a tragic accident. I know what I saw in the logs. They targeted his car's remote systems. They murdered him. I sank onto the floor, the journal in my lap. Page after page detailed my father's illegal activities, his career advancements, Armstrong's complicity. Bianca, Chloe whispered. She documented everything, I said, my voice hoarse. Chloe, she documented everything. The next morning, I walked into the glass and steel lobby of Williams, Patton, and Davenport. The receptionist looked up, her smile freezing when she saw my face. I'm here to see Leland Williams. Do you have an appointment, Miss? Williams? He'll see me. I walked past her desk and pushed open the heavy glass doors to his corner office. The Savannah skyline glittered behind him like a conquered territory. Bianca? He looked up, his annoyance clear. I'm in the middle of preparing for a hearing. This won't take long. I shut the door behind me and walked to his massive mahogany desk. I took one photo from my jacket pocket, the one of him and Armstrong grinning in their uniforms, and placed it on his desk. His face went pale, a sickly grayish white. His hand, reaching for a pen, visibly trembled. I found Mom's journal, Dad. His eyes snapped up to mine, wide with a fear I had never seen before. It was a raw, naked panic. Where did you get that? His voice was a strained whisper, his usual commanding tone gone. She kept records, photos, a logbook detailing everything you and Armstrong did during Operation Bayside Horizon. She documented Jeremy Wallace. The color drained completely from his face. You're not fighting me for $85,000, I said, leaning forward. You're fighting me for this. You're trying to destroy the evidence. He shot to his feet, towering over me. You have no idea what you're playing with, Bianca. Those are classified matters. You are in possession of stolen government property. Was Jeremy Wallace's murder classified too? His jaw tightened. I'd hit the nerve. You have until Friday, I said, picking up the photo. Drop the case. Issue a public apology for questioning my mother's competence, or I file a motion to recuse Judge Armstrong, and this photo, along with the journal, becomes exhibit public record. You're making a terrible mistake, he hissed, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "No, Dad, you made the mistake. You underestimated her, and you underestimated me." I walked to the door and pulled it open. Friday. "He's terrified," I said, pacing Chloe's small office. I saw it in his eyes. "He should be," Chloe said, typing furiously. "This is career-ending, for him and Armstrong. But a confrontation isn't a legal strategy. We need more than a journal." "Rebecca Ballard," I said. "She's the one who told me where to look. She was on the project, too." I called her and put her on speaker. "We found it, Rebecca. The journal, the photos. It's all there." There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. I knew she'd keep it. Evelyn was the most careful person I've ever known. "We need you," I said. "We need you to testify to what you saw." "I'll do better," Rebecca replied. "There was another officer, a Major Charles Morgan. He handled the admin and paperwork for Bayside. He saw the illegal data requests from Leland and Armstrong. He hated them. He's retired in Virginia, but I know he'd talk if he knew Evelyn's daughter was fighting this." "Get me his number," Chloe said, her eyes bright. "We aren't just fighting a probate case anymore, Bianca. We're building a federal case." That night, I drove to my own apartment, the adrenaline of the confrontation finally fading, leaving a bone-deep exhaustion in its place. I unlocked my door and stepped inside, and froze. The air was wrong, cold. My stomach clenched. I flicked on the light. The room was destroyed. My sofa cushions were slashed. Books were swept from their shelves. My desk drawers were ripped out and dumped. My mattress was overturned. It wasn't a robbery. It was a professional search. I ran to my bedroom closet, my heart pounding in my throat. The antique armoire, which I'd had moved to my apartment for safekeeping, was smashed to pieces. The hidden compartment was pried open. The wood splintered. The journal was gone. The photos were gone. They had taken everything. "They took it all, Chloe. The journal, the photos, the armoire. It's gone!" I was on the floor of my ruined apartment, sirens wailing in the distance. "Bianca, calm down. Did you call the police?" Chloe's voice was tight with alarm. "Yes, they're on their way, but it doesn't matter. He won, Chloe. He got it. We have nothing." My voice cracked. The one weapon my mother had left me, the one thing that proved I wasn't crazy, was gone. "No." Rebecca's voice suddenly cut in. Chloe must have three-way called her. "This is good." "Good!" I yelled. "How is this good, Rebecca? They have the proof." "They think they have the proof," Rebecca said, her voice sharp and grounding. "They're arrogant. They think they found the one and only copy. This proves they're scared witless. This proves they're desperate. It doesn't matter if they're desperate if we don't have the evidence." "Think, Bianca," Rebecca urged. "Evelyn was a signals analyst. She was a professional paranoid. She lived and breathed redundancy. She would never keep only one copy of something that important. Never." I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to push past the panic. Redundancy, a backup. My mother's voice. "Always have a backup, Bianca. One is none, two is one." My eyes snapped open. "The bank. My mother had a safe deposit box. She gave me the key 2 years ago, said it was for in case. I thought it was just for her will." A heavy silence fell on the line. "Go," Chloe said. "Go now." The bank manager looked annoyed at being summoned on a Saturday morning, but my court order, which Chloe had scrambled to get, left him no choice. He led me into the vault. The air was cold and still. He used his key, then mine. He pulled out the long metal box and placed it on a table in a private viewing room. My hands were shaking. I lifted the lid. Inside, on top of her will and a few pieces of jewelry, were her Air Force service medals, and underneath them, a single black USB drive. I plugged it into the laptop I'd brought, a single folder. I clicked it. Scans. High-resolution scans of every single page of the journal, digital copies of all the photos, Leland and Armstrong, Senator Garrison's daughter, the surveillance logs from the night Jeremy Wallace died. It was all there. My mother, the analyst, my mother, the backup planner. They had stolen the original, but my mother had left me a ghost. On Monday morning, Chloe and I walked into the courthouse. I felt like I hadn't slept in a week. "They're acting fast," Chloe muttered, checking her phone. "Davenport just filed an emergency motion. They're claiming you are in illegal possession of classified documents." "What? The ones they just stole from me?" "Exactly. They're pivoting. They think they have the only copy, so now they're trying to frame you for having it in the first place. They're using national security to get the entire case sealed and gag you." We entered the courtroom. This time Leland wasn't there, only Davenport. Judge Armstrong was on the bench. "Mr. Davenport," Armstrong said, his voice booming with false authority, "the court is in receipt of your emergency motion. These are exceptionally serious allegations." "Indeed, Your Honor," Davenport said, looking grave. "We have reason to believe Ms. Williams, through her illegal ransacking of her mother's belongings, has come into possession of state secrets. We are requesting the court order her to turn over any and all materials immediately, and that these proceedings be sealed to protect national security." It was a brilliant, terrifying trap. If I revealed the USB drive, I'd be admitting to having the very classified documents they were accusing me of holding. Armstrong looked at me, his expression cold. "Ms. Williams, this court takes matters of national security with the utmost seriousness. I am ordering you to surrender any and all documents, digital or physical, related to your mother's military service to this court. Failure to do so will result in contempt charges and potential federal prosecution." I walked into the public defender's office in a daze. Armstrong's threat echoed in my ears. "Bianca, my office." My supervisor, Lucas, stood in his doorway, his arms crossed. He didn't look happy. I followed him in, and he shut the door. "I just got a call from the U.S. Attorney's office," he said, his voice low. "A courtesy call, asking about you." My blood drained from my face. "Lucas, it's my father." "I don't care who it is, Bianca," he cut me off. "I'm running a public defender's office. My attorneys cannot have federal prosecutors sniffing around them, talking about classified information. You've missed 3 hearings this week. Your colleagues are picking up your caseload. What is going on?" "It's complicated, Lucas. It's a probate matter." "It stopped being a probate matter when national security got invoked." He sighed, rubbing his temples. "I'm getting pressure from the city. You're a good lawyer, Bianca, but I can't protect you if you're tangled up in something like this. You have 1 week to get this sorted, or I'm putting you on administrative leave. I can't have this blowback on our clients." I walked out of his office, the walls closing in. My father wasn't just trying to win in court. He was trying to destroy my entire life. I was hiding in a stairwell at the office, my head in my hands, when my phone buzzed. It was Chloe. "Get over here. Now. You need to hear this." I found her in her office on the phone with a woman she had on speaker. "And I'm telling you, Chloe, I saw it with my own eyes," the woman was saying, her voice a nervous whisper. "Judge Armstrong and Leland Williams, in the judge's private chambers, last Wednesday. No lawyers, no clerk, completely off the record." "Janine, are you 100% certain?" Chloe asked. "Absolutely. I was dropping off transcripts next door. I saw Leland go in the private entrance. They were in there for 45 minutes. It's an ex parte communication, Chloe. It's grossly illegal." My heart started pounding again, this time with a different rhythm. "Janine," Chloe said, "this is Bianca Williams, the daughter. You are saving us right now." "There's more," Janine whispered. "I got spooked. I have a friend in accounting. I asked her to run a check. Armstrong's personal finances. His tax returns are handled by Williams, Patton, and Davenport, for free, for the last 6 years." Chloe and I locked eyes. "It's a direct conflict of interest," Chloe breathed. "He should have recused himself from day one. Janine, can you get us those records?" I can't, Chloe." "That's locked down tight. But I swear to you it's true. You've done more than enough, Janine. Thank you. Stay safe. Chloe hung up the phone. She looked at me, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across her face. They think we're fighting about a classified journal. They have no idea we just found their financial records. We don't need the journal. We have this. That evening, I was walking to my car in the courthouse garage, my mind racing. Janine's information was a bombshell. We had a new angle, a clearer path. Ms. Williams. I spun around. Marcus Davenport, my father's lawyer, was standing behind a concrete pillar. He looked terrible. His suit was rumpled, his face was pale, and he was sweating. "What do you want?" I said, my hand instinctively gripping my keys like a weapon. "Your father," he started, then stopped, wiping his mouth. "Leland is out of control. He's obsessed with this. He's going to burn the whole firm to the ground." "That sounds like your problem, not mine." I started to walk away. "He's talking about having you declared a national security risk. He's calling in favors I didn't even know he had. He's not just trying to win a case, he's trying to erase you." I stopped. The genuine fear in his voice was unmistakable. "What do you want, Davenport?" He stepped forward, his eyes darting around the empty garage. "I have a family. I have a career. I am not going to be disbarred because Leland Williams has a 30-year-old skeleton in his closet. In the house." Davenport fumbled with his briefcase. "He's reckless. He and Armstrong. They think they're untouchable. They're making mistakes. Sloppy, arrogant mistakes." He pulled a plain manila envelope from his briefcase and slid it onto the hood of my car. "I was never here," he said, his voice barely a whisper. This is my severance for 30 years of service. I'm done." He turned and walked away, disappearing into the stairwell. I looked at the envelope for a long moment before picking it up. I opened it right there in the garage. Inside was a complete set of financial statements. Judge Armstrong's personal tax returns for the last 6 years, all prepared and filed by Williams, Patton, and Davenport, and copies of internal firm invoices, billing Armstrong's consulting fees to a generic client slush fund. It was the smoking gun, the one Janine knew about but couldn't get. Davenport, in an act of pure self-preservation, had just handed me the weapon I needed to end this. Smirat. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Leland. "Bianca, we need to talk." His voice was different. Not angry, not threatening. It was smooth, oily. "We have nothing to talk about, Dad. I'll see you in court." "Don't be foolish. I'm prepared to make you a very generous offer. I'm withdrawing all objections to the will. The house, the savings, it's all yours." I stood by my window watching the Savannah traffic, and in recognition of the emotional distress this has caused, I'm prepared to offer a private settlement, $500,000, cash. My breath caught. $500,000. It was life-changing money. It was freedom. "What's the catch?" I asked. "No catch, just a standard non-disclosure agreement. You agree to permanent silence on all matters related to your mother, her service, this case, Judge Armstrong. Everything. You sign the papers, the money is in your account by 5 p.m. You want me to take your money and bury my mother's story. I want to end this, Bianca, for the good of the family. Think about it. This is your one and only chance." He hung up. I immediately called Chloe. He offered me $500,000 to sign an NDA. "Don't you dare," Chloe said instantly. "Bianca, I just found out why he's panicking. Judge Armstrong is up for a periodic judicial review next month. An NDA right now wouldn't just bury your mother's story. It would legally prevent us from filing the ethics complaint with Janine's and Davenport's evidence. He's not trying to buy your silence. He's trying to buy Armstrong's career." The pieces clicked into place. The burglary, the threats, and now the bribe. It was all a desperate, clumsy attempt to stop the inevitable. My decision was instant. I called my father's direct line. He picked up on the first ring. "Have you considered my offer, Bianca?" "I have," I said, my voice cold and clear, "and I'm rejecting it." There was a sharp, stunned silence on the other end. "My mother's integrity isn't for sale," I said, "and neither is mine. I'll see you at the recusal hearing." I hung up before he could respond. "This is it," Chloe said, pacing her conference room. The table was covered in documents: Davenport's leaked financials, Janine's affidavit about the ex parte meeting, and our motion for recusal. Rebecca Ballard and Major Charles Morgan, who had flown in from Virginia, sat at the table. "Our strategy is simple," Chloe continued. "We lead with the financial corruption. It's irrefutable. It's not classified. It's a simple, dirty case of judicial bribery. Judge Sinclair, who's hearing the recusal, is a stickler for ethics. She will tear Armstrong apart." "And the Bayside Horizon files?" I asked, tapping the USB drive in my pocket. "That's our knockout blow," Rebecca said. "We keep it in reserve. We let them think this is just about money. If they fight, if they dare to claim this is anything other than corruption, we use it." Charles Morgan, a man with a quiet, powerful presence, nodded. "I'm ready to state my name, rank, and confirm I served on that project with both of them. Just hearing the name Bayside Horizon in open court will be enough to make them fold. They'll be expecting a fight over a classified journal they think they destroyed," I said. "They have no idea we're about to hit them with tax fraud." The courtroom was packed. Judge Mara Sinclair, a sharp-eyed woman with a reputation for zero tolerance, was on the bench. My father, Leland, sat at the opposing table with Davenport, looking confident. He thought he had this won. He thought I was coming to court with nothing. Judge Armstrong was also present, sitting grim-faced near the bench. "We are here for the motion to recuse Judge Armstrong," Judge Sinclair began. Davenport immediately stood. "Your Honor, before we begin, the respondent files a motion to seal this entire proceeding on the grounds of national security." Judge Sinclair looked at him over her glasses. "On what grounds, Mr. Davenport?" "The probate of an estate doesn't typically involve state secrets." "My client, Mr. Williams, has reason to believe the plaintiff, his daughter, is basing her motion on sensitive materials she is not authorized to possess." He was trying to corner me. "Motion denied," Judge Sinclair said flatly. "The burden of proof for sealing a courtroom is high and you haven't met it. Ms. Ramsey, you may proceed with your motion." Davenport sat down, his confidence visibly faltering. "Thank you, Your Honor," Chloe said, standing. Her voice was clear and carried through the silent courtroom. "We move for the recusal of Judge Armstrong on two primary grounds. First, a pattern of procedural bias, but second, and more egregiously, on gross and willful judicial misconduct." Leland and Armstrong both stiffened. "We have evidence, Your Honor, of repeated unrecorded ex parte communications between my client's father, Mr. Leland Williams, and Judge Armstrong in the judge's private chambers while this case was active." She placed Janine's sworn affidavit on the judge's bench. "And furthermore," Chloe continued, her voice rising, "we have definitive proof of an undisclosed long-term financial relationship between the two parties. For the last 6 years, Judge Armstrong's personal tax and financial management has been handled pro bono by Mr. Williams' law firm." She placed the second stack of papers, Davenport's leak, in front of the judge. "This is a direct disqualifying conflict of interest. Judge Armstrong has been accepting improper gifts from a litigant in his own courtroom. He is not an impartial arbiter, Your Honor. He is a paid consultant." A wave of shocked murmurs rolled through the courtroom. Judge Sinclair's face was stone. She slowly paged through the tax returns. Leland was ashen. He was staring at Davenport, his expression murderous. He finally understood. His own lawyer had betrayed him. Judge Armstrong stood, his face mottled with rage. "Your Honor, this is an outrageous fabrication. These documents they are taken out of context. This is nothing but a smear campaign by a disgruntled plaintiff." Judge Sinclair looked up, her eyes like ice. "Are you denying that this is your signature, Judge Armstrong, on tax returns prepared by Mr. Williams' firm? This relationship it's personal, not professional. It has no bearing." I stood up. My chair scraped loudly on the floor. Everyone turned to look at me. My father, Armstrong, Judge Sinclair. "Your Honor," I said, my voice shaking but strong, "the financial corruption is only part of it. Their relationship isn't just personal, it's criminal, and it goes back 30 years. Leland half rose from his chair. "Bianca, no." "It goes back to a secret military project," I continued, locking eyes with Judge Sinclair. "A project they served on together, where they used their positions to illegally surveil American citizens and cover up the death of an activist." I paused, then delivered the final blow. "A project called Operation Bayside Horizon." The name hit the room like a bomb. Leland Williams froze, his mouth open. Judge Armstrong grabbed the arm of his chair, his knuckles white. He looked like he'd been shot. From the back of the courtroom, a clear voice called out, "Your Honor." Major Charles Morgan stood, his military posture unmistakable. "Your Honor, my name is Major Charles Morgan, United States Air Force, retired. I can confirm I served as an administrative officer on Operation Bayside Horizon, and I can confirm I served with both Mr. Leland Williams and then Captain Armstrong." The courtroom was dead silent. Every lawyer, every clerk, every bystander knew they were witnessing the end of 2 careers. Judge Sinclair stared at Armstrong. "Judge Armstrong, do you have a response to this?" Armstrong looked at Leland. He looked at me. He looked at Major Morgan. He said nothing. "In light of this information," Judge Armstrong finally choked out, his voice a rasp, I will recuse myself from this case, effective immediately." Leland sank into his chair, the fight completely gone from him. He looked like a hollow shell. "The court accepts the recusal," Judge Sinclair said, her voice sharp, "and this court will be forwarding this entire file to the Judicial Conduct Committee and the U.S. Attorney's Office for a full investigation." She turned to Davenport, who looked like he was about to be sick. "Mr. Davenport, given these developments, what is your client's position on the probate case?" Davenport stood, shuffled his papers, and didn't even look at Leland. "Your Honor, my client, Mr. Williams, withdraws all objections to the will and all pending motions. We dismiss the case." Judge Sinclair nodded, her disgust plain. "Then it's settled. This court finds that the will of Evelyn Franklin is valid. The estate shall be distributed to her daughter, Bianca Williams, as intended. This case is closed." I found my father in the hallway. He was trying to get to the elevator, but reporters were already starting to swarm. "Dad!" He turned. The arrogance, the power. It was all gone. He just looked old. "You did this," he whispered, his voice full of venom. "You did this to yourself," I said, "and you did it to her. What do you want, Bianca? You won. You have the money. I want a public apology, a press release, stating that you retract all claims about my mother's incompetence. You will restore her name. You will do it by 5 p.m. today." "Or what?" he sneered, a flash of the old Leland. "Or that USB drive goes to every reporter in this building, and the ethics committee, and the family of Jeremy Wallace." He stared at me, the new power dynamic settling between us. He searched my face, looking for the daughter he could intimidate. She wasn't there. "You're just like her," he finally said. "I know, 5 p.m. I turned and walked away. The apology was public by 4:30 p.m. A week later, Judge Armstrong was on permanent medical leave, pending an investigation that would eventually lead to his disbarment and indictment. Leland Williams was forced to resign from his own firm to prevent the entire partnership from collapsing. The board, led by a newly promoted Marcus Davenport, scrubbed his name from the wall. My father was ruined. Chloe and I sat in her office, a bottle of champagne between us. "To Evelyn," Chloe said, raising her glass. "To Evelyn," I agreed. She built the perfect case from beyond the grave. 6 months later, I stood in the living room of my mother's townhouse in Trenton. It was finally mine. The air was peaceful. The inheritance was more than I needed. I used the bulk of it to establish a new legal fund, the Evelyn Franklin Foundation. Its mission: providing pro bono legal resources to victims of judicial corruption and bias. I sat at my mother's desk, the one she'd used for years, and signed the first grant check. Rebecca Ballard and Charles Morgan sat on the foundation's board. We were already funding 3 different cases against corrupt judges. A young woman sat across from me in my office at the foundation. She was nervous, twisting a tissue in her hands. And the judge he's friends with my ex-husband's lawyer. I know he is. He denies every motion I file. He's letting them bleed me dry. I'm going to lose my kids, Ms. Williams. No one will listen to me. I listened patiently. When she was finished, I pushed a box of tissues toward her and pulled out a fresh legal pad. I looked at the photo on my desk. My mother, Evelyn, in her Air Force uniform, young and confident. I turned back to the woman. "Tell me everything," I said, my pen poised. "From the very beginning, we're going to document the pattern." If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from, or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.